Muting now.
Alright, we are now live with another episode of Canadian Corner. This is Liddell speaking with my co-caster for the first time this season, Silver.
Hello.
Welcome, Silver. We are
Thank you.
casting Season 10 NGS Division A East, Wholesome Halfwits versus the Caffeinated Knights. Looking quick here at the ban screen, we had Caffeinated Knights banning Hanamur and Braxis Holdout. Meanwhile, we had Wholesome Halfwits banning what is that? Battlefield of Eternity and Dragonshire. Wholesome Halfwits has chosen to go to Cursed Hollow. I will give a quick preface that this is a replay stream on an old version of HOT, so there may be some technical difficulties with observing and things like that. But hopefully it all comes through, and we'll have to do a countdown with each other to start the game at the same time because we can't.
We
can't.
Yeah, you can't actually watch with friends because it's an older version. Blizzard replays is very weird on like what you can and can't do. It's actually a little confusing how unfriendly it is. Especially when you consider it's based on StarCraft replay, which you can do these things.
But it's broken, but it works at the same time. So
That's all we asked for. I don't know. Sometimes when they patch it, it does not work. I remember there was a big patch like last time with the anomaly that did that.
But quickly looking at the current standings before we start the game, we have Wholesome Halfwits in last place with 1 point, 2 points on this standings, and we have Caffeinated Knights second from the top with 12 points. Although they've been pretty much in the lead for most of the season up to this point, with Gilly Sharks slightly above them.
Yeah, it's also important to know that Gilly Sharks does have a game on Caffeinated Knights and only 1 point. So if Caffeinated wins their next series, they will be back to first place and tied on games. So.
Alright, well, without further ado, let's switch over to the gameplay screen.
Do you want to do the countdown, Liddell?
I will do the countdown.
As you can see, we're on Cursed Hollow.
We are on Cursed Hollow. We're going to go on go.
Okay.
We're going to go 3, 2, 1, go.
Prepare yourself for battle.
And is your music good? Because replays on older things like to reset the noise.
Yes, I believe I turned down the noise, but when I reset it back to 0 seconds, it forgot that.
Classic Blizzard replays. So while that happens, I will introduce Caffeinated Knights, the red team. We have Osmanthus. I'm going to pronounce all these on Anubarak. We have Static on Falstead. We have Arc on Orphea. Sorry, no, that's not Orphea. That is Malphil. It's hard to tell with all these skins. Orphea is played by Ghost Dragon, and Harborim on the Stukov.
Alright, as for the side of the Wholesome Halfwits, we have Scafar on the Deathwing, we have Key on the Anduin, we have Tanksta, TKS Tanksta on the, where is he? He's on the Ufa. We have Darker Black on the Li Ming, and we have Crooked Smile, who I'm not sure if I've seen for Wholesome Halfwits before. He is on the Butcher.
Well, I don't know if they played Butcher before, so it might be one and the same. We do see some poking going mid. We do see Butcher and Uther on the bottom wing for that gank, hoping to get a cheeky pick for that free blood. Keep in mind, by doing that, they do lose the Butch stacks for the blood.
Because this is a replay stream, we haven't been able to cover some of the drafts that we would have been talking about during the game. So what's your initial reaction to let's start with Caffeinated Knights draft, because it's a little more conventional.
I kind of like Caffeinated Knights. I think there's a lot of counterplay there for what Wholesome Halfwits are doing with the Malphil into Deathwing. I know Anoob's coming back with having a comeback, but I think this is pre-patch for the Anoob buff. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I don't really like Anoob here a lot, especially without that health buff that he got in the recent patch. Like, I know Li Ming's there, and that gives a lot of sustainability against that, but Anoob is susceptible to the Uther stuns. Anoob does die to Butch fairly quickly. We're seeing a gank top lane where Falstad barely gets alive. And I don't really see him adding much value with the Cocoon, especially if the Unstoppables are ready. You can easily unstoppable out of that Cocoon if you notice it coming. So overall, I think it's very susceptible to CC, which the Uther brings, and I don't really see a lot of the counters it brings either. But I could be wrong.
As for the side of Wholesome Halfwits, we have a bit of a meme going on, a bit of Tricky Goose-esque play here with a Butcher.
Yeah. Is
First
Butcher even a meme?
impressions. With his win rate, I don't know if he is anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And how do you like the team outside of that? Just the Butch.
I
and
think
everything.
the Deathwing has a lot of value with the global on this map, with being able to stall out objectives if he goes that route. And then they're pretty much stalling for 10, in which they can get ults to turn on, to secure kills, and then turn on Butcher with me.
And then, what do you think about the Uther main tank? Notice how they have the Anduin and the Uther for going a double healer route?
Yeah, I think it adds more burst reduction to the. Sorry, I'm having some issues here with my Duplo cast.
Do you need me to pause?
It's tracking. I can't get it to stop tracking, and the normal buttons that stop it from tracking are not working.
Do you want me to pause?
I can still click around, so I think I'm fine. I think.
Okay.
I apologize if the camera looks a bit shaky. I've had this problem a couple times. I might need to ask some of the more veteran casters about it.
No problems in the chat.
maybe one's jump in the chat. It only seems to happen during replays, but it gets kind of stuck on certain characters, and the normal hotkeys to reset that seem to not work.
Do you maybe try pressing space, as that could be stuck down. I think space is typically the. We do see Deathwing landing and Orphe getting a lot of damage onto Deathwing on spot, as Uther forced to heal himself and run out. Butch though coming in, his charge getting unstoppable as Orphe, but that's going to be down. Stukov getting stalled out, so he's not going to be providing a nice silence. Volstead flying down, and now he's actually going to take up that trip, but there's an interrupt from Deathwing. This is actually a very hard place to push for Red Team, as the turrets are right there. They can't push that far with Gleaming Deathwing, even though they're both very low. I don't think that Caffeinated can get this quickly. We kind of see that mirrored as they're backing up, trying to create some space to charge it. Gleaming now trying to cap, and now it's Caffeinated's nice turn to stall. Orpheus E coming out as Gleaming just trying to get some poke. I think Wholesome Halfwits has more siege here, even though Caffeinated has a lot of engage and damage, and we do actually see it going to Wholesome Halfwits. Yeah, I think we saw your stall thing from Deathwing comment coming out there, Liddell. There's a lot of good stall, even though he is at quarter health.
Yeah, he just has a lot of AoE abilities that honestly are really good at just kind of bypassing anyone trying to block and just really doing damage, but also stalling at the same time.
Do you see Orphea getting charged? I think I mistake I did see there is Deathwing landed a little too early than I would like. I wish he did a few more meteors from the sky. I think he get a lot of value, especially because he got kind of burned as soon as he landed, because he was a little alone.
Although he wouldn't have had those up yet, that's a level 7 talent.
Oh, okay. My bad. Well, that makes sense why he didn't do it. We do see a noob getting caught out and the stun chain coming out with an Anduin route, but he still has his E. But he is going to be low health for this, although I think Stukov probably has a big heal for him. But he's going to be a little lower than he likes. We do see Li Ming not quite there on time. Obviously positioning for a gank. Which team do you think is going to take this, Liddell? Has both kind of posture with Oaks.
I really like the early game more for Caffeinated Knights, but they really, Wholesome Halfwits really put a good showing on that first objective. And their poke is really nice as well.
We see the Deathwing coming in, it's going to do a lot of damage, but Caffeinated Knight's kind of just going to walk away from it. Deathwing going to go down here barely, but Malfield living because there's 4 people around him and he can press Q all day. And you can see Wholesome Halfwits trying to get cleaned up. Caffeinated's so low, he might be able to find a picture, but she's out of mana with Anduin slowed and now Malfield on him. I do not think he's getting away. This is going to be a 4 for none for the side of Caffeinated Knights. Yeah, and tribute goes to a noob.
That is the kind of aggression I think we saw as a capability for Caffeinated Knights early into this game. Also, due to my various technical issues, Silva, I think you're a bit ahead of me now, so if you pause your stream for like two seconds and then unpause it, you should be back with where I am.
Okay, my bad if I was doing a little bit of spoils.
No,
I do think there was
you were just looking very good at predicting what was happening. But just a little bit.
maybe I should stay 1 second ahead.
Yeah.
For caffeine.
Yeah, just keep you sounding smart.
Yes, I'll appreciate that. I do think there was some positional errors in that fight from the side of Wholesome Halfwits. Like, again, as I mentioned, there were 3 people, some of them ranged, all standing around the Malfield, letting him heal off of them. And I think that kind of participated to why he didn't die as fast as he did.
Right.
So, we do see Darker Black taking some damage from the Adoob. Oh, but Noob's gonna commit to it, actually. The teleport's already down. Oh, into a wall. Doesn't quite get there.
So a little update on what's going on my end. Whenever Darker Black is on my screen, apparently the observing view really loves her and just locks to her. But I can click away and then it doesn't lock anymore. So it's very.
Looks like.
I'm very confused.
Well, you don't have to worry about it because it looks like Wholesome Halfwits are giving the next trib, so there will be no fight for you to lock on there. We do see a ping coming up from Caffeinated Knights. They might be traveling to that. I don't quite think they have a boss burn team comp, but they might just be trying to bait a fight.
Once Butcher's turned on, and I apologize for not showing talents up to this point. Once Butcher's turned on, I believe they have pretty good burn with the Ming, but obviously I don't know exactly what. He's at 65 meat right now, so he's a long ways away from being turned on. We also have level 10s. Quickly looking at.
You see Mouthful getting ganked by Butcher.
I caught it at the last second. I apologize. This is rookie level observing right now. Hopefully game 2 is a little bit better. We have Gust on the Falstead. We have Locust Swarm on the Anubrak. We have what's that called? Flailing Swipe on the Stukov. Typical Last Rites on the Malthael. And we have Eternal Feast on the Orphea as we're seeing a boss play as Caffeinated Knights is invading here.
We do see Orpheol coming out. That's going to be doing a lot of damage. Boss though spawning. He's going to do a whack on the Anubrak. Anubrak's going to go down, but everyone's low. You do see Uther ulting himself to become invulnerable as Li Ming goes reset city and does a lot of damage, although she misses, I think, the second volley. But now we do have, I think Boss is the bigger camp there, but Li Ming is very in front. She might get picked here. She's doing a lot of damage to Falstead, although the charge comes onto Orphea, who has her stop back up. Boss now going a little unchecked, though, bottom lane. That's going to have to be cleaned up by the Falstead, and I think the Orphea there. As Caffeinated Knights loses the tribute. It's going 2-2 and Boss. Quite a little damage on the bot lane.
That was a big swing there. I'm surprised they weren't able to secure more kills considering the amount of damage that Orphea's ult did there. But it's going to secure bottom fort, so that's a lot of value early on as it is 2 tributes to 2. So this next one is going to be very important for the outcome of this game.
So I'm going to have to apologize, Liddell. I was trying to screw with hotkeys to try and help you out. I accidentally pressed, apparently Control E resets the timer, so I'm going to have to ask you for...
Alright, I'm going to get a quick pause here then. I'm going to pause at 10:15.
Okay.
Get a quick reset here. While we're at it, I'm going to see if I can, in my observer... You know, I am on Aliobs, which is the observer mode, and I'm going to turn that off because it's not even acting properly on the observer anyways. So we'll see if that fixes it. Maybe it's just messing up. Nope, it appears not. Well, let me know when you're ready, Silver. Have I lost Silver? Oh my. What a replay cast. Silver. Well, if I don't hear back from him in 5 seconds, I'm gonna have to leave him behind. There we go. We happy?
Yep. Sorry, what is
10:15.
What is HOTS without technical difficulties? I'm at 10:15. Do you want to count me in?
3, 2, 1, go. So right now we are still a ways away from the last curse coming up, or last tribute before a curse is decided. We have Wholesome Halfwits taking this Bruiser camp, and we don't have a commit from Caffeinated Knights on this boss when they are all there, but they're probably worried about a boss steal, and also with Deathwing and his fear, he can force people off of the point and steal the boss quite easily.
Yeah, it's one of the many advantages Deathwing brings to this map. I honestly think Deathwing is a kind of a third ban level on this map, as you don't want to typically pick up too early, otherwise he gets countered by things like the Malthael or a Greymane. But the utility he brings is just so much. Although we see a bit Butch getting caught, but the Uther ult will be up to save him. Uther taking a lot of damage for that save as the Light Bomb snipe onto Malthael comes out. A Horrify coming from Deathwing goes stop the DPS for a little bit, letting the Wholesome Halfwits get quite a lot of damage. Deathwing forced to go back as he is finally run out of health, but I think they have a lot of stall here, and with Malthael down, I do think this will eventually go to Wholesome Halfwits to get the first tribute cap. Sorry, the third tribute cap and first objective going. But the Wholesome Halfwits and Caffeinated proving me wrong as Uther goes down, and now with Butch low and running out of the fight, Uther heals out of the fight. I think this now actually is going to go to Caffeinated Knights. That's a very good turnaround. I did not expect that. See Orphea chasing down the Li Ming as Falsted's trying to cap.
Yeah, I think they maybe showed a bit too much aggression there once they secured a couple kills, and they kind of sold out. They kind of like used up a lot of assets and resources to dive them there when they could have just held ground and hopefully maybe poked out and secured the curse.
I do think they also went in a little too fast. They have 2 healers. I think they would have been healed up a lot faster. The fact that they instantly went in for another game.
Right.
It's a little overzealous, as you were saying.
Just checking here on his blood. He's at 151 meat. So he's getting there though. He's close to being turned on. If he doesn't die in the next 4 or 5 minutes or so, he probably will have full meat.
We do see Deathwing Lane as they're trying to charge past the fort that can attack, do some damage. We do see a noob getting lamb to the slaughter, so I think he is going to go down, but Deathwing getting pretty low, he's going to go down. A noob eing out. It's a great save by Anubarak as he gets to safety.
Wholesome Halfwits sacrificing a lot of macro play there by selling out for the team fight. They did have a 5v4, but they left bottom uncontested and mid fell already before the team fight happened, so that was a lot of macro resources to sacrifice and not secure any kills.
To be fair, they did have a camp saving top, so that's not going to take too much, although again, they did lose 2 forts there. But for a curse, that's actually fairly reasonable. Like, typically you lose a lot, like all 3 of your outer forts quite often in these situations.
I would agree. Butcher extending quite far in this top lane and falling to Anubarak and Orphea there.
Does he have his meat done yet? I do not think so.
No, I do not believe so because they didn't secure any kills in that last fight. So he's down to 154 now. So he got a couple waves, which negated the loss a little bit. But he did die there.
Still. And now they're gonna Caffeinated's gonna go pretty unchecked on this boss. Boss almost full health as the fort falls. I think they might be able to push this even further to try and get a keep.
This is just kind of solid safe plays we've seen from Caffeinated Knights so far this season.
Would you call them a macro team by any chance, Liddell? Or are they more brawling?
I think they're a good mix of everything. I think they handle the macro well, but they're also very capable of matching teams on their team fight. They're kind of really good at resisting engages, securing kills, and just getting kind of safe but solid value whenever they have an advantage. Which we saw there breaking off early on the curse. They didn't get greedy and go for top fort or anything like that. They broke off, got the boss, and then that easily secured top fort without any type of pushback from Wholesome Halfwits.
Also is half health. That's a very snipeable later in the game, especially if they manage to get another curse that will fall by itself.
We'll see how Wholesome Halfwits uses the current tribute advantage. They do have a few, 2 tributes that they can give without giving up a curse, but they seem to want a fight right now.
Yep, and they do find a Nubrak in a bush, although all of Caffeinated Knights are there except for the Falster who's clearing bot. But a nice disengage from a noob is going to stop that. You see the Butch going all in onto Ghost Dragon there. He's going to stun and walk away as Stukov using Flailing Strike to get a proper disengage. But Caffeinated has decided they do want it. The Nubrak getting to half health, but in exchange, 3 members of Wholesome Halfwits half health. Falster getting slaughtered absolutely crazily. Uther using the ult on himself as Butch does fall, but so does Falstead. So now it is a proper 44, but with Deathwing falling so quickly to the Mouth Veil, and Uther going to get slowed here, I think, by the Stukov. Yes, and he's going to go down too. This is a proper... Oh, Stukov surviving just by the barely. And I think that might be the end of Li Ming. No, anyone in Uther, the heals are too strong. But that's still a 3-for-1 for the side of Caffeinated Knights. I don't think they can be sad about that trade. And in fact, they're still chasing.
I've watched a lot of Darker Black play so far this season. He is a glass cannon in the true sense of a player. He is very good at hitting skill shots. I should say they. I don't know the exact gender, but they are very good at hitting skill shots. But they are also very aggressive and get caught forward a lot. So it's kind of a
the ultimate glass cannon. Right.
pick your poison kind of thing.
And unfortunately there, he was off by like 10 damage. Maybe just needed one more auto attack to get that Stukov, and it would have been worth it by a long shot.
Definitely
But
looking for a full reset city there, which is the type of turnaround you'd think they want at this point in the game because they're down 2 levels and a lot of structures.
I think it was kind of a forced, like, I kind of agree with his plan. Obviously, I don't know if I would do it personally, but I can't hold him against trying to get that turnaround.
Alright.
We do have boss coming down bot as tribute spawns. We'll see what Wholesome Halfwits do, as it's kind of their play to make. I think they look like they're defending boss.
They have this trib that they can give up, which is valuable, but they can't give up the next one after this, so this is kind of the last chance, and they're down level 20 at this point.
And keep in mind, Falstead is not with them bot, so he's going to be capping top right now, and so it's a 4-5 bot, but I do think they have enough pushing power, especially with that great engage, forcing the Uther ult and the Anduin pull to get this bottom fort. I think boss alone can do it now, and Caffeinated agrees as they fall back.
A lot of mid pressure coming in too for Bruiser Camp. As I take a look at talents, kind of suspected this. It is a pretty much almost a full Beetle build. I think it may be a full Beetle build from Anubarak, which is obviously a direct counter to the Li Ming and all of her skill shots that do not pierce enemies.
Yeah. And, you know, I kind of said at the beginning that I feel like Anu could be burned by the Butch and the Deathwing. But I guess Deathwing's doing a little more magic damage than I thought, and Li Ming really being the core of their poke damage. So the ability to just kind of sustain that, it's really giving them an advantage.
Level 20, we see Wind Tunnel, so the Gust upgrade from Falstad. We see the cooldown resets for Anubarak.
It is important to know Butch just got his quest too, so he is now turned on. Which is going to be very important considering they are down 20, as you were mentioning.
He is now Suicide Butch, everyone's favorite Butch.
Yeah. Although he kind of needs Slaughterhouse at level 20 to really be turned on, in my opinion. That's when Butch can just win the team.
It doesn't look like they're contesting this either. It looks like they're going to give. Although we're looking at it now, but
that might be the wrong move because Caffeinated Knights aren't even there. Caffeinated Knights, in fact, taking top boss. I don't know what you can see of the mini-map, Liddell, considering you're focused on, I think, the Wholesome Halfwits. But Wholesome Halfwits actually trying to do a trade, but they're going to be, unfortunately, surprised as the boss is already down as they get there. It's going to be a unhappy surprise as they slowly got to go down. But it's a little too late kind of thing. Like, if this curse came a little bit earlier, they would have way more macro pressure to contest this boss properly.
We may be out of sync here time-wise, so I'm just going to take over on the calls.
Okay. Are you ahead or behind?
I think I'm ahead. We have a boss diving core here.
As you are.
As we see a group slaughter by the Butcher as he takes down 3 members of Caffeinated Knights, 4 members. We're going for a full team wipe now. Ghost Dragon falls as well. Orphea is completely wiped. They are able to defend this boss without it taking too much core health. Meanwhile, the Cursed is pushing out the lanes. And kind of allowing possibly an end here. Although Malthael had an insta-res. As I'll quickly get you, Silva, the timestamp I am at. I'm at 19, basically 20 minutes now into the game.
Okay. Are you still playing?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your current timestamp?
It is 2009, 2010, 2011.
I'm caught up. I'm second.
I think showing the timer may have given away the ending to this game, though, as we do see Wholesome Halfwits going for a full core dive. They are fully committed, knowing they have a complete structure disadvantage right now, and this is their only chance to end the game.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of Heroes these days. Is like, it is a game that anybody can come back at any point, especially when you get a full team wipe. And we really see that as GG Wholesome Halfwits.
So I'll quickly go to the stats screen here.
And an FYI as we're transitioning, if you press shift 1 to 0, like any of the numbers, you will be locked on to a player. So make sure you press control, not shift when you're
Alright, I am pressing the normal hotkey as I would, but to undo it. I'm also appearing to be locked onto 2 characters at once. It's a whole thing. I'll
All right.
I'll look for professional help after this game to fix my issue.
It should be good now that we're restarting though, at least.
Hopefully.
But technical issues aside, yeah. What do you think? Oh, I like to say what do you think went wrong to Caffeinated Nights, but I think we know what went wrong.
They hard committed to ending top, which I don't necessarily blame them, but they did lead the risk of, if they wipe, there is currently a curse against them, which allowed all of those lanes to push up while they were diving core. So they pushed up mid, they pushed up bottom, which made it much easier for Wholesome Halfwits to do a full 5-man dive bottom, take out the keep quickly with no opposition to it, obviously because the tower is disabled, and then dive keep. So
Yeah.
I think the only thing that made that comeback possible was having Cursed up when the team wipe happened, or leading up to the team wipe happening. If Cursed wasn't up at that moment, then it would still take a long time for them to clear out the wave bottom, then take the keep. I don't think they would have had time to secure core.
I completely agree. I feel like they kind of forced themselves into an all-in situation by pushing during curse. And like any all-ins, if you lose the all-in, you kind of don't have a lot of follow-up. Hence the all-in. I kind of also really disagree with that call because I think the reason they did is because they were winning a lot of fights pretty handedly.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost all game we watched them win fights. But we also saw them fight all game against a non-200 stack Butcher. We saw them fight against a non-level 20 Butcher, and you really have to respect them more than I think Caffeinated Nights did. I much would rather them see rotate mid and take that keep, while forcing Wholesome Halfwits to clear the boss. I just wish they played a little bit longer and more of a macro style. I know that's a very Tiny Dancer thing to say. It's more of a macro comp.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they forced themselves into the all-in by fighting with Gunter Curse, as I mentioned. If you have such a lead, why are you doing an all-in? Like, all-ins are supposed to be when you're behind.
I would agree there. I think even though the team fight, even though they were winning team fights, the game completely changed at 20, and they may have wanted to end it before they had too many. Wholesome Halfwits had made too many opportunities to have a 20 fight and keep winning them and keep rolling back the advantages Caffeinated Nights had made up. But at the same time, I feel like on Cursed Hollow you can really avoid team fights for a long period of time by just kind of staying on your side of the map. It's such a big map. If you're constantly forcing them to chase you, and they had a much less macro play, a lot less wave clear than Caffeinated Nights did, you could have probably avoided team fights for a long period of time.
It's also important to note that Caffeinated Nights, not Caffeinated Nights, Wholesome Halfwits just got 3 tributes, so their tribute counter would be reset, allowing Caffeinated Nights to put a lot of stress on taking the tribute or saving a lane if they're pushing, especially with the False Dead Global. I know Wholesome Halfwits had Deathwing Global, but it's not as mobile as False Dead Fly.
Yeah, I would agree there. Sorry for this long intermission. We are loading up a new replay.
Yes, when playing on older versions of the Blizzard client, you have to actually disconnect from Blizzard, restart the Heroes of the Storm, launch it there, and then you get a worse version of Replay Manager. I am in personally, Liddell. I'm stuck at 0-0.
I am in too, but I gotta
go.
I will not press 1 once.
I mean, well, that's how you see talents, unfortunately.
Yeah, I might take my risk there.
If you press Control, not Shift, you should be fine. Keep in mind, if you press Shift Control, it will prioritize the shift.
I'm gonna keep it on the default observer interface too, just in case. That was because there's a special modded one that you can use that fits all of the streaming stuff well. That may have been causing a problem on an older version, so I'm just being careful there.
So this is game 2 of Caffeinated Nights versus Wholesome Halfwits. We are playing on Infernal. Do you know which team chose this by any chance, Liddell?
Let me open it real quickly. Match link. It was chosen by Wholesome Halfwits as well, because Caffeinated Nights opted for first pick after losing the first game.
I have been slowly preferencing map choice these days over first pick. I don't think there's quite a lot of heroes that are super important to first pick that you can't kind of ban. Like, obviously, Diva on some maps is very bannable. And obviously, some maps also have heroes that are especially good on them. But aside from a ban or two that you're kind of forced to give away when you're a second pick, I think by having last pick and map choice and the next 2 picks to get like more priority targets, I think just at the moment getting map choice is more valuable.
I would agree there. I think last season in season 9. Sorry, I'll. We can continue this conversation after I start the gameplay. So, I'm gonna start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Sorry, I missed that. I was looking at Twitch chat. We have a viewer. Surprise.
It is a surprise for a midday stream. All right, I'm back at 0 again. 3,
Yeah, sorry.
2.
Do you know the hotkey to get the timer back? It's
I just drag it back in the.
you drag it back.
Yeah, in the if you Control Shift O, there's like a. You can
Yeah,
just,
it's not coming. Okay, am I going to restart?
Control
Oh my
Shift O. Oh my god.
Okay, wait.
Welcome to Replay Cast with Silva
Yeah,
and Liddell
okay.
on Canadian Corner.
Yeah, I know, right? So I could. Okay, so you're at minus. What's the timer on yours? Minus. Is there a clock on yours?
Yeah, I'm at 0, 0. You want like the end time or like?
No, I'm on minus 32 of the in-game clock. Because I can press Control P to play it or pause it.
Prepare yourselves.
Okay, I'm paused there.
All right, count us in.
3, 2, 1, go. We'll do quickly intros and then we'll cover. The discussion we were just having about draft. So we have on the side of Wholesome Halfwits, we have Scafar on the Blaze, we have Tanksta on the Varian, I'm assuming, we have Darker Black on the Gazlo, we have Key on the Stukov, favorite of his, and Crooked Smile on the Sylvanas.
10 seconds.
Okay, and on the side of Caffeinated Knights, we have Halbrim on Anduin. We have Sonya, played by, if the talent available thing goes away, I can see it. He's played by Ark. Ghost Dragon on the Tassadar, Static for Raynor, and Joanna played by Osmanthus. Again, apologies if I missaying that. And we do see Harbrim in chat saying that they should have contested the 3rd tribute, which is a very possible thing. I agree. I think if you contested the 3rd tribute last game, you could have caught the Bush before he was level 20 or popped up. We do see Darker Black. Yeah. Sorry, go.
I was just saying we saw a try bottom tower cheese, but Darker Black getting caught out and picked by the side of the Caffeinated Knights.
It's always the risk if you don't have proper sight or are a little slow to react on the side of the Sylvanas cheese. I think Caffeinateds probably were ready for that Sylvanas cheese, as it's the typical thing to do. I've actually been really liking Sylvanas cheese on top lane as the 4-man, and then doing a quick rotate mid. We'll start in the off lane bot, just to kind of, anti-meta the Sylvanas cheese a little. Does create some more options.
One issue I have with Wholesome Halfwits doing the camp cheese, or the tower cheese, is that Varian is a tank, and he's not a character right now. So
Yes,
he can't really guard like most tanks do when you're doing a tower cheese and CC people as they kind of run in. He's also weak himself to the pick.
Would definitely have a lot more escapes. I agree. And what do you think about the teams? Either or? Your choice, Liddell.
I'm going to start Caffeinated Knights again. I really love Sonya on this map. Her AoE heals on the point, on the objective, are really useful for sustaining herself and clearing it quickly. We also have Joanna, who has a similar trait of Condemn, reduced cool reduction on targets, which allows her to stun multiple times in like every 2 or 3 seconds. So that's really helpful.
Talent, just to
that's a level 7 talent, and we'll turn that on. And then let me look control 1 with Exterminator. We do have Exterminator, so that's another added camp clear, as well as Tassadar with good AoE damage. So I think it's just your bog standard meat and potatoes meta comp right now, with the buffs that Anduin just got. So I think he's also a pretty overtuned healer.
I think this is pre-patch, so Anduin is not quite bad.
Well,
yet.
he was still. Well, then
it's definitely fine. And
he was still the most basic healer, I would say.
Yeah. I do want to point out, I think this meat and potatoes from the side of Caffeinated Knights is spiced very well, as we do have a lot of map-specific bonuses coming into their side characters. Again, as you mentioned with the Sonya and Joanna. So, although it's basic, I think it is very map-tailored as well.
Yeah, I think it speaks to how I've seen Caffeinated Knights play this season too. Though it's safe, it's calculated, it's not too flashy, but it's highly efficient. I think is what I've seen.
I mean, it gets the wins.
Gets the wins.
So on the side of Wholesome Halfwits, you play Gazlo a little bit, Liddell. This is pre 10 Gazlo buffs, as he's gonna get he got in the recent patch. What do you think of Gazlo on this map?
I really tried to like work around with Gazlo on this map. I think he has a place. His turret build has honestly been underwhelming every single time I've tried to play it. But I think his stun build, his E build, has a lot of damage output and potential for comboing. As we see now with the combos going out onto us Memphis on Joanna.
I'm also like just noticing the damage of how fast the turrets take them, and yes, they're constantly attacking the minions, but they're not doing as much damage as we see the typical positioning top lane for that shrine. Oh, and there was a pause too.
Tons of stun coming out on Joanna there, comboing her down. That's the combo they're looking for. The taunt, stun follow up from Gazlo, and the silence from Stukov, which Key loves to play, and he's really good at hitting those silences on time.
I think you're also a second or two ahead of me, so after this fight we're going to do a quick pause just to catch up. But, yeah.
Although we do...
see...
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go, because I'm behind.
Alright, I just seeing in these team fights, we're seeing a good burst burst chain CC from Wholesome Halfwits, but they kind of run out of steam after that first pick, and the damage kind of runs out, and the sustain of Caffeinated Knights is taking over right now.
I really think that Wholesome Halfwits, and I was going to say this earlier in the analysis, needs a bruiser that does damage or a DPS that's not Gazlo. Because Sylvanas does a decent amount of burst damage, but it's not enough to really kill anyone. And Gazlo has always been either, like, yes, he sets up combos with stuns, a good follow-up. But, like, you need some AA or heavy burst character to kind of finish this off. Like, both Blaze and Varian can set up things, but they're not finishers.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to if you don't get that initial kill, even if you do get that initial kill, you might have taken so much damage by that point that the 4-man can still outvalue you.
Yeah, and the fact that you need all 5 people to spend all their cooldowns to get that kill is really like, you know, A, that means you can't get one-off picks when you're separated, and B, it means that like the counter gank potential is going to be so huge. And it's a Frozen Punisher 2 for the side of Caffeinated Knights, which is going to get a lot more value than usual, as the first fort is, I think, going to fall here.
It's pretty close, but they are able to push them off. I will go for a pause right now. Well, there's actually a bit of action, so I'm going to let that dissipate, and it looks like it has. So I'm going to pause quickly. I'm game time, I'm 5:48.
Okay, I'm 44, 45, 46, 7. I'm going to be 1 second ahead of you just to, but unpause now.
Okay, one sec, I wasn't ready.
Okay, what, are you still at 48?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, unpause.
Okay, I have not pressed any numbers or clicked on any heroes yet, and so my observing seems to be normalized this game.
Yes, again, we are playing this on older things, so we can't actually watch together for every reason. That's one of the critiques Blizzard has put on us, so we are trying our best. It might be worth streaming it next game, Liddell.
Yeah, that might be simpler,
yeah.
in all honesty. We'll have the double streamception. We have camps being taken on the side of Caffeinated Knights. I like their camp clear a lot more than Wholesome Halfwits.
Yeah, I mean, to be frank, I kind of just like Caffeinated Knights trapped a lot more than Wholesome Halfwits. Like, yes, it's a little plain, but like, you know, again, it's good. It's tasty.
I mean, we're talking from the point we picked the plainest drafts for most of last season too.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that in a negative light.
No.
It's if you can pick plain and execute every part of your game well, it's going to be really hard to beat up on your team.
Yeah, and we do see the pick coming out to Tastars. He gets completely demolished, and then the mind control too. Ooh, we don't see that often. That might actually be, I guess, what this draft's missing. But the fucking 4-man light bomb, holy! And we do see that's going to be a proper disengage. I do kinda dislike how Wholesome Halfwits doesn't fall back after they get picks. I think because they have to use their entire like combos to get a single kill. I really think they should be playing a get a pick, retreat, cooldowns are up, let's go back in. kind of style. And I haven't really seen that being played at all this game or last game. I think that's causing a lot of problems with these long-term fights.
Yeah, they definitely are all in every sense of the word.
But they don't have an AA or a mage like Tassadar. They're not really built for these long, sustained fights.
Yeah, especially
guess
even more
Gabba
so with the grab bomb now. It's pretty much grab bomb or bust. Like, you get it. If you get a pick, great, reset. If you don't, you're probably kind of screwed, to be honest.
Yeah. We do see them getting the camp quickly. Stukov trying to disengage, but he's kind of caught out there. Sonya on him, and they're all grouping up under the Sonya. She's going to do a lot of damage with the mind control, just getting a lot of value there as to stop being the spin to win. As they're actually going to go 1 for 1, which is a little bit better than I thought they were, plus the camp they did end up getting.
That's a huge win because they were also committing Blaze top to get some soak, get a soak lead, which is really strong for them, and they were able to get a pick and the camp. So that's actually a huge win for Wholesome.
Although it is important to note that they did have to fall, like both Stukov and Varian had to recall. So although they got, you were right, where they had Blaze top getting some soak experience, that is mitigated by the fact that they did miss a wave mid and they did miss a wave bot.
Yeah, but it does set them up well with a slight XP advantage going into this objective, whereas opposed that they were fully down going into that sequence of events.
Yeah, and again, you're kind of seeing Tassadar show a lot of play here as he's getting a lot of creeps kind of before this. We see a nice blow from Anduin catching the Joe as Tassadar is kind of looking to get some picks as the mind control comes out on the Joanna. That's not who you want, but the late bomb misses as Sonya's ult is going to be on. And it looks like Wholesome Habits really wanting this fight as Varian's going to taunt the Sonya, interrupting the spin. The grab up coming out, grabbing a lot of people, but there's just no finish here as Caffeinated, as Wholesome Habits characters are all very low. Stukov could be stunned by the Anduin, or rude by the Anduin, as he's going to have to retreat out.
We're really seeing the effect of the sustained fights, especially Infernal Shrines kind of forces sustained fights because it's such a long objective to turn over. It takes, on average, probably 25 seconds total to clear all the minions.
Yeah, that's why we see Roomba doing the whole trade of fort for a objective a lot of the time too. You have the time to do it.
Yeah, you have 25 seconds, and often it's pretty weak, honestly, especially early game. It's not till level, honestly, 16, maybe 20, that you actually see Punisher strong enough that can secure keeps with everyone else.
Although, Frozen Punishers tend to be the exception to that rule. I also want to point out a big issue I saw in that fight was, as we see Joanna getting a nice, she's going jump, as she gets a nice 3-man, as I think Gazo will fall here. No, he gets a nice 3-man stun, but Varian is a little too slow to escape. He will indeed fall. That is 2 for none. And although the Punisher falls, I think they can get this wall for free now.
Well, I was going to say something before.
Yeah, so I was going to say, the last Punisher fight, we did see Wholesome Halfwits engage while Sonya's ult was already up. She pre-popped it to help get those minions, and then they engaged before it ran out. And I think that was a big tactical error, as they let her heal a lot more during that fight. And, you know, again, if they're having problems with DPS, they can't really out-sustain that heal.
They might need to take weird angles at fights because I think Sonya is now pretty... By this point in the game, she's gotten a lot more sustainable and a lot more tankier. And we also have Joanna, which... Say what you want about Joanna in the meta right now, I think she's quite weak and fallen out of it. But she's still probably one of the tankiest tanks in the game. From full health bar plus her D trait.
She did go improve D trait at level 1.
And blind. So I would still say she's like top 2 or 3 tankiest tank in full health pool.
Yes.
And so it's quite hard to still get a pick on her. You can kill her in sustained fights now because she has less sustain than other tanks, but full health bar she's hard to burst down.
She was meta for so long because she's good against burst. That's kind of all that Wholesome Halfwits do have. On top of that, she does have falling sword, so she can now get out of any engagement too. It's very hard to interrupt that, especially if you're trying to burst her down with your CC.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you at this point in the game the typical question I'll ask you when the team is losing, quite handily in the macro game, is what can Wholesome Halfwits do differently to turn this game around?
I think they need to take a page out of Beef Boy's actually play style, and they need to just be really weird. They are almost entirely built around the pick comp, and that really favors death bushes or weird angles. So I think they need to be like off the map for a little bit, trying to find a weird place, kind of reading what Caffeinated are doing, or they need to kind of do this all-in play where they come from behind at a weird angle and hope that they get the better trade and get a real quick pick on Tassadar and Raynor without losing too much.
I would
Maybe even
agree.
that.
For context, Beef Boys, I've watched a lot of their games this season. How they kind of play is they've actually lost a lot of games early, and they've been really down, but the games that they've won have been deciding, hey, this is our last time that we can fight before level 20. Screw all the macro, screw whatever the lanes are pushing at this moment. Let's take a really weird angle at them and just force them to pick a fight right now. And that Hail Mary attitude surprises the other team and has allowed them to wipe and like get wins that they really shouldn't have gotten based on how the macro game was going up to that point.
It's also important to note that like Beef Boys tends to play games with comps similar to Wholesome Halfwits, although not exactly. We do see a Light Bomb Falling Sword. That's going to be a great timing as it gets a lot of people, but the Grab Bomb does come out. It's going to pull the Joanna back. Blaze trying to do his ult. He's going to hit 3 people, but it might be a little too late. So they get the camp, but the Flaring Swipe saved the Joanna and Sonya.
And we do have objective coming up right now with the variant following, so that's, I would say that's a net loss for Wholesome Halfwits.
Oh, for sure. Character is not worth the camp. That's going to be cleared instantly. But yeah, and also just to comment about the Beef Boys. Beef Boys do play like a very combo-heavy teams often. So I think like going for that weird angle and getting the ganks to try and get those picks. Like if they were like taking the aggressive bush here where Anduin was walking through and picking off the Tassadar Anduin that walked through it, that's a completely different game now, right?
I would agree, yeah. We see a missed, what's that called, mind control? Yeah, we see a missed mind control from Sylvanas. What do you also think of the mind control, like adding to the pick ability, but don't you think the silence is shutting down the healer and the damage coming out while you're trying to get that pick would be equally advantageous?
Yeah, I don't really play a lot of Sylvanas, so it's kind of hard for me to make a real call there. We do see a pick on the Sonya, but Sylvanas is going to go down to the Joe, and we are going to kind of see some Halfwits forced out of the fight here as the Punisher comes up. This is going to be especially bad if they decide to stay now, as the Punisher can jump on them. We do see Key played by Stukov doing a flayless attempt to escape, but Tassadar W is going to finish him off, and I don't think Varian or Gazla, who's coming to help, can escape now. Gazla might get away. He's a little fast.
We'll see. Devil's Advocate, is this GG right now, or is this just a keep?
I think it's definitely a keep. I don't think it's GG just because this Punisher's probably going to be dead before he gets there. But I was going to say if someone gets picked here, then it's a 100% game. We do have Sylvanas coming out in 10. And I think Stukov and Baron will be up by the time it gets to keep. Although, the Caffeinated Knights proved me a little wrong. They have a lot of burn. And
Punisher's half health still, even if it is taking tower shots from top keep.
It might just go bot. Bot is very low.
I think I like this play more. I think Caffeinated Knights has learned their lesson from last game. We have a macro advantage. Why would we take a risky core dive when we could just control the entire map for the next 5 to 10 minutes, however long they want it to go.
And to finally answer your question about the mind control, I think my opinion is that I'd like the mind control if they were looking for more pick potential than they had. But they have so much pick potential now, I think they're kind of like overdoing it. Like, mind control, yes, it does a lot of... Oh wow, we do see Caffeinated Knights absolutely wrecking Wholesome Halfwits in this fight. We do see Varian going down very quickly as all the ults have been blown, and then they're just kind of chasing them down. You see Archon finally running out as Blaze. Oh, no, Sonya grabbing the stick up to get next to the Blaze to finally kill him. I think this might be game.
I'm going to say GG as well. I don't think that's a very bold claim. You also have
it might be
all
with
the
static
waves pushed
almost
in.
going down. But no, never mind. I thought they also happens might get a Hail Mary catch. Sonya being rooted but low, but she has the magic shield, and yes, that is game.
So that is GG game 2. We have a tied series going into game 3 at this point.
If you want to set up the stream for me to watch Liddell, just do it through Discord.
I think that would be better.
Yeah, to sort of finish my thought on the mind control, I think this is something I talk a lot about in our comps, where I play the tank, and oftentimes if I am not an engaged tank, our team struggles to get engages. We're very reliant. And I think in situations where I am not engaged tank, let's say I'm like Arthas, who has good follow-up engage, but that route is kind of sometimes very weak engage because you still have to walk up to them to slow them, and nobody's really stunned, and anyone who's mobile can escape before you get to them. I think oftentimes you need to look for other forms of engagement from champions. That could be like an Artanis swap, or potentially even a Sylvanas mind control. It's a very good engage. But in that game, I don't think they were lacking in gauge. They had the Gazlo grab bomb. They had the Blaze stun. I forget who their other tank was, even though we were just watching it.
Variant.
Varian, yeah, they had the Varian taunt. Like, they weren't looking for more engages, right? Like, even even the Stukov, if he gets a good flailing swipe, could be an interesting engage. And on top of that, the fact that Joanna had a falling sword, she was coming to you, save with Sonya.
Yeah.
So I feel like the silence could be better because it can really deny a lot of damage and healing coming from Caffeinated Knights. And I like mind control again if they need more engage, but it's kind of like if you have 6 engages, the 7th doesn't really matter that much, right?
Yeah.
It's same like there is like a thing called too much stuns, but like if they had one engage or one stun, then yeah, I'd like the mind control a little better. And we did see it get actually quite a little bit of use on Sonya a few times, so it wasn't quite worthless. But I think like adding that extra 300 burst damage from the ult, I think it's actually a little more than that, and denying the healing from Anduin or Sonya, way more value would have been obtained.
Looking quickly at the stat screen, but I can't spend too much time on it because I have to fully shut heroes to load the next replay. We see, I think the damage says it all. We have 49k coming from Gazla. We have 85k coming from Tassadar. Tassadar almost double the closest damage dealer. Just being able to have his way with... Because they would all clump up so hard on their dive target that the AoE damage was just insane coming out from Tassadar.
Yeah, and I also want to point out, like, except for a pick or two when they caught Tassadar on the rotations, Tassadar was very much left untouched. Like, the one critique I'd have about Wholesome Halfwits, and this could be either their engage or their comp, is that they weren't very past the front line divey. Like, they didn't have a Zeratul. They have a Blaze who can't get past the front line. They have a Varian who can't get past the front line with his engages. The mind control hits the front line every time. Like, it was the same kind of engage, and that's not stuff that gets to Tassadar at all. It's kind of lets him get it very much unchecked. And obviously the Raynor doing a little less damage because he's going what's the Exterminator rather than going quest to level 1 or an alternative talent. But you know, he still kept up with the damage because again, similar to Tassadar, he was kind of left unchecked most of the game. And a little short of range Tassadar meant he was ganged up on a little bit, but Tassadar's the DPS you gotta kill, right?
Yeah. Quick observer update here. I've tried to quit the game. It informed me that the game has crashed. Then it immediately loaded the game up again, and then I could close it. So that was my journey to quitting the game.
I hope you're reached new spiritual enlightenment after that journey. It's lovely. Do you want to start the Discord stream then while you're waiting for that thing to load?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna stream the Heroes tab, and so I need to load up the game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lovely Blizzard tech problems.
I apologize. It is our bad for doing a replay stream that has been
Patch late.
a patch late. But you know,
Yeah.
I'm a bit selfish, and I like to scout for Tiny Dance's upcoming games. So
Yeah, we are facing Caffeinated Nights on Sunday. I think we just got shamed about it too in the Div 8 chat for scheduling it a little late.
yeah, that is our leader's fault. That is not our fault. We are not the leader.
Nope.
And I'll blame
Not at
goes
all.
on to Feldroth for that one.
Exactly. Please send your rage comments to Feldroth and sure send him a few death threats.
It would be a big matchup. I think we're Caffeinated Knights is looking really strong, and they're looking like the exact same team they were last season B, which is really impressive that you can go up a division and still look like the exact same level of dominance. From
especially considering I'm pretty sure they had some significant roster changes. I could be wrong, but I know like Vivanchi was very active in the B East chat last season, and he is no longer on the team. I think they have a few new people.
Right.
I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to actually check that out.
Yeah, I think also they were in B West, and I think a lot of B West teams honestly get kind of ignored a little bit because it's considered like a top-heavy division usually, the Western division. So they have like their lower teams are worse and the better teams are higher, but then they're not judged as much because teams with a lot of wins are like, oh well, they just got them off weak West teams, and the East gets a bit more respected. I don't know really why that happens. That happens in professional sports too, to be honest, a lot of the time. So probably just like a West Coast disrespect kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, people always accept the East Coast to win the finals too, and as we saw last season, Caffeinated Knights lost the finals in their division, and then Abba Merkel did end up taking the championships.
Didn't they sweep them?
I think they did. I know we got lost to Die Provision in the finals on B West, and then Die Provision got swept. And doing a quick look at their roster, Osmanthus and Harborum were there last season. I'm kind of doing this a little janked. But I don't see much other people. I think it might be only them. And we have any Caffeinated Knights in the chat, they could correct me. But I think it's just Osmanthus and Harborum who came from last season to this season.
Okay. Well, that's still
No,
impressive
Arc is
for.
there. Arc is there too.
Still
Sorry.
impressive, even if you have any turnover to kind of carry that success into the next season and gel as well as they have.
Harborum informing us that they lost 3-1 to Abamurky. But I think we're talking about the Coastals of Abamurky. Abamurky sweeping Die Provision. And 3 of the main members parted ways. 1 sub and 2 new members, basically, is their main roster. So, really impressive that they're increasing their performance after that huge roster change.
Alright, does the stream seem to be working for you well on this side?
I am opening it up right now. That we have to try 3 different methods. I can see it clearly, although you're not paused, so just be careful.
Yeah, I wanted to... Okay, I was doing a thing, and then the thing didn't happen.
Classic Heroes replay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will do the announcements for Game 3 of this series of NGS Season 10. We have, for the Wholesome Halfwits, we have Scafer on the Ural. We have TKST Tank, or TSK Tankster on the Garrosh. Key on the Tyrande. Crooked Smile on the Zul'jin. And who's on the Chromie there? That is Darker Black. We have the Wholesome Halfwits.
Caffeinated Knights, we have Osmanthus on... It's hard to tell who that is with the skin. It's on the May, sorry. Harborum playing Anduin once again. Clearly like the Anduin, must be pleased by those buffs. Static on the Raynor. Garrosh throwing the May as Ghost Dragon on Tastar doing a little poke as Zool, played by Arc, just runs away because that's what Zools do. They don't fight, they just leave and soak.
That's what a good Zool does.
Yeah.
A Zool never sees his own team. That's how it's supposed to work.
He sees them for a little bit of a hello, a root, and then he clears the wave and walks and lets his minions help with the team fight. Sometimes he ults. It's exciting.
Alright, I'm gonna start this time with the Wholesome Halfwits because I find.
Oh gosh, almost getting a great throw on.
Yeah,
sorry,
almost.
continue.
I'm gonna start with their team comp analysis first this time because we've done Caffeinated Nights twice. We have the hard engage with the Garrosh. We have the long game stacking character in Zul'jin. We have the low heals but high utility Tyrande.
DPS.
And DPS. And we have the somewhat late game burst mage in Chromie.
So, do you have any, oh, we do see a time stomp there. Oh. May might go down there at bot. Garrosh throwing after a time stop. Nope. Sorry. Yeah, so what's your opinion on that team comp, Liddell? Are you just going to read them out? Or are you going to give some
well, I like
takes?
them on this hot takes. I like those characters on this map because this map reliably goes late game on Towers of Doom. So it gives them time to stack them up and get that value. But then at the same time, I think Garrosh is an early game tank. So if they can get picks with him and carry that to late game, then I like it. But it's a lot of ifs. It's a lot harder to execute, I think, than Caffeinated Nights team.
I play a lot of Garrosh, and I like this backline a lot more than the previous game. I think there's a lot more meshing. One thing I do have an issue of is like people dying at the Garrosh throw. I think they have a lot of follow-up for the Garrosh with the Tyrande stun and the damage, the single target damage. But like, if Chromie's not set up with her Qs or W, they're not going to get a kill. Zul'jin doesn't really follow up properly till 16 where he gets that W talent, unless he's an exceptional Zul'jin. Which Crooked Smile might be. He might be a very good Zul'jin, but like very typically, especially if there's pressure from the team, you're not going to get those kills. Especially off of like a May, just E away or press it or B.
I should also note that this is a double soak setup, which it often is on Towers of Doom, and Zool outperforms UL quite well in the double soak game.
Zool outperforms almost everybody.
Yeah. But I wouldn't even talk about UL as an ideal double soaker. She can do it, but against someone like Zool, it becomes a lot harder.
Yeah, and that's kind of weird because they want to force the 4-ban with the Zul'jin, but they have a weak double soak. And I feel like you kind of have to have the stronger double soak to kind of do that properly and not fall behind an XP.
Yeah, I would agree there. We see
Tankster
following really low here.
Yeah.
Once again, taking a lot of damage, being forced out.
Although we do this time see that Caffeinated Knights taking a lot of damage from that Chromie. This time they actually do have a long-range poke, as we see Cricket Smile going a little overextended to try and get those last hits. Tank's forced to come up to try and defend that. He's going to take a lot of whacks as he tries to retreat. I think Cricket Smile's playing a very greedy Zul'jin. I hope he does not get punished, as we see Uriel finally come down to try and make sure they get this, but Zul's going unchecked on top lane.
Well, I should say also that certain Zul'jins, I remember we were talking about a Grandmaster Zul'jin one time, and saying that he often dies 2 or 3 times at the beginning of every game because he's so aggressive trying to get those stacks, but it pays off by getting stacked quicker. So we might see him calm down a little bit when he is more stacked, and he's just trying to maximize the stacks early.
That's very fair. I just wonder if he's actually going to get punished this game, as I have yet to see that come out from Caffeinated Knights. But they do have the setup for it with the Anduin route and the Mei combo.
We haven't really talked much. Oh, we're going to see an engage here, so I'll stop talking.
It's a very busy game. We do see the challenge. Garrosh taking a lot of damage as Mei pushing him back. Oh, Tassadar are walling him in. I think that might be the end of Garrosh, as he's taking quite a little damage. The Mei is stunning the rest of the team, so they're not going to be able to reply. Tyrande actually falling down too, and this is a big win for Caffeinated Knights as Zul came down to make that a 5v4.
That's a huge advantage of also double soaking quicker than your opponent on this map, because it allows you to get so ahead in rotations that you can sneak down for a 5v4 when the other team is trying to do a camp or something like that.
So, Liddell, if you see a Zul picked on this map, what would your opinion be to respond to that then, as you're currently complimenting him a lot?
I have a very secret thing that I will not talk about, but in terms of what I would play, I would personally play Malthael. Malthael beats him in the 1v1 and is about 90% as good a soaker as he is. So instead of like UL being like a 70 to 65% as good as he is, it's more about like 90%. So you can kind of keep up.
Yeah. I'd agree with that take.
The only problem with Malthael is Malthael can be really weak into certain other team comps and be really exposed a lot more than other players like UL can.
Yeah, and also it's important to note Malthael against this team, like how Caffeinated is set up, he wouldn't actually get that much value too. Mei is not a super tanky tank, as we do see an engage coming out. Mei on the other side of the task wall, but so is Uriel. And I think, Uriel managing to get away, very impressive. As Chromie's still putting some poke, but now she's a little up front as Caffeinated's kind of just pushing the Wholesome Halfwits away. Zul is actually out of mana here, forcing his Unstoppable to escape, but the other Zul route comes in a little too late as Garrosh forced to go in to save the Zul and dies for it. I think Uriel dies here too. Oh, and Key getting blocked by the Tassadar while he's forced to go around. He's a little in danger, but I think he's going to get out just fine.
I think
that is
my biggest criticism of Wholesome Halfwits so far in this series is they don't have a leave button. And we talked about the battle in game 2, but they were really low health bars and they re-engaged there, and they should have just taken their lumps, taken the shots, and lived another day, because that gave them about probably 75% of a level lead, or Caffeinated Knights did, just by giving up those kills and not getting the soak.
They're also down 10 for that re-engage too, and we really saw that.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't even see them. I don't think Caffeinated Knights actually even ulted there. During the point they were at 10, as all their ults are not on cooldown, and Zul just chose his.
Alright, well, I will quickly talk about talents, because that is something I'm very bad at on a Canadian corner. We have the Hyperion from the Reyna, we have Archon from the Tassadar, we have Ice Wall from the Mei, which we saw, we have Light Bomb from the Anduin, and we have, what's it called? Poison Nova from the Zul. Anything surprising from those ults?
No, you know, sometimes you see Salvation from Anduin, but the Tyrande stun I think puts an end to that, same with the Garrosh and Uriel displacement. No, I think that's all very standard. Sometimes Snowball might be better, but I think there's enough ice setup that Ice Wall can get a lot of value, as we're kind of seeing here as Garrosh getting Ice Walled and then Wombo comboed with the Anduin Light Bomb. I think we kind of see what Caffeinated's game plan is right there.
Yeah, I think that executes to perfection. I think they have a great ability to separate Wholesome Halfwits out and kind of isolate the Garrosh. And he's deceptively not as tanky as I think people once thought of him as in the meta.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's more taking towards sustained damage than burst, but Tassadar's not like Tassadar is their main DPS, and he is actually surprisingly bursty. You did mention that this game often goes reliably late game, but if we see a roll, like if Caffeinated can continue this lead, like they might just end the game before Wholesome Halfwits can get their Zul'jin turned on, or can get their Chromie like 18 and piercing through 3 people. Again, once we're kind of seeing like Mei just kind of being able to tank so much with her sustainability, and not a lot of like heavy burst coming to kill her. We see actually that she takes so long to kill that Garrosh. Her team comes and kills the Garrosh before she dies.
Yeah, it's becoming a rough situation. I think I would like to see Garrosh a bit more selective with his throws. I see a lot of them coming onto Mei. When he maybe could have looked for more of a Zul throw there.
Yeah, for sure.
But
I think again, you can throw the Mei if you are trying to get the damage, not the kill. And I think that's an issue that's coming on here. Kind of what we were saying where Wholesome Halfwits doesn't disengage. Like, if Garrosh throws, they get the Mei to half health, and then they re-engage. That's a fine trade, because anyone has to actually spend a lot of his healing and a lot of his kit to get that Mei back up to full health. And she can't get that full health very fast. But instead what we're seeing is Mei trying to be killed, they lose all their cooldowns, and then keep going in. And again, we're seeing things like this where he throws the Raynor, he really doesn't have the follow-up to get that kill.
especially not 3 levels down. I think that those burst days are long gone.
And a talent down too.
Yeah.
This is very much not looking for good for Wholesome Halfwits. This might be a little bit of a roll, as they're already at 20 health and level 12. They really need to step it up on that soaking stack game if they want to continue this to late game.
The problem is the Zul is going to be so hard to kind of turn that XP back, and then Caffeinated Knights can just sit 4-man, 3-man bottom and kind of hold out this.
Yeah.
Hold out this
Do
tower.
you mind checking what the Zul'jin's stacks are at? As I think that's a little relevant.
He is at 11 stacks.
So not
So
very
he's-
close.
No, he's under half
Although-
still.
Although it does pick up a lot at 16, so it's a little deceptive in that sense, and they are getting fairly close to that. Assuming he goes the talent that lets you get 5 stacks on your W.
Yeah. Do you think Feldroff is somewhere yelling from the sky that Crooked Smile took to Tezdingo, though?
Yes, Feldroth is our DPS teammate, and he plays a lot of Zul'jin. Some say he's a little famous for it,
He's
but we
a
don't
little
say that because
picky-
it gets to his head.
Yeah, he's a little picky about his alt choice.
He's a picky about Zul'jin builds, and I think he's a little wrong with it, but you know what? I'm the tank.
Hopefully he
gonna-
doesn't watch this. There'll be consequences.
I'm not going to die on this hill. You know what? We've had many discussions. We're not going to get into this.
I just want to get into it while he's not here to defend himself. That's the best time to get
So we
into
just see
it.
an Ice Wall coming out. It's going to push off the Garrosh. We might have thrown the Tassadar there, which would have been a very big throw for the side of Wholesome Halfwits. Garrosh does get the Mei once again, but he's going to go down very quickly. The Tassadar Wall keeping him in, taking a lot of his survivability out of the equation. And this is a fight that they are actually looking for, down 16. So not a huge surprise that they're losing it, especially with Darker Black almost out of mana. I think he needs to recall there, or tap. Especially now that he's at half health.
We've run into this scenario a lot when a team is doing really well on this map, that they take the bottom fort on the other side, and then they just sit there. And teams just kind of want to match them and watch them, and they just kind of sit in this never-ending 4v4. Like, what can teams do to avoid this and like change this up?
I think you have to realize that your castle, or whatever it's called, your base, kills the minions very quickly, and you only need one person there to kind of constantly apply pressure that you could be retaking it. I think if they were going for a Zul gank, I think if they sent 3-men top and tried pushing that, and maybe left the Chromie bot, that'd be much better. Even if they decided to finally put a 4-man rotate and leave the Urel bot, I think that'd be a lot better.
Yeah.
I think the issue is that
Yeah.
they are not built, especially down levels and down in talent, they are not built to siege that fort with everything there. And they have to realize that they can't. Just give it up.
I would agree. I'm gonna do a quick map thing here. So basically, when the fight's happening here,
You want to pause the game real quick if you're doing this?
yeah,
the power.
I don't think there's much gonna go on. Oh, never mind. The very top, so I will not pause it.
Alright, well after this we might do a pause and talk about that. I mean, we're using replay, may as well take the advantage of it, you know?
Yeah.
We do have Zul'jin on the other side of the fight though, as a great Ice Wall is going to come out, letting all of them focus the Zul'jin. He is going to get Poison Nova, so that Tezdingo is not really going to do anything to save him, as almost everyone gets hit by the Poison Nova, and they're all getting very low. It is going to be one falling from the side of Caffeinated Knights, as Mei is also getting extremely low, but they're quickly running out of steam as the Anduin is there healing the Mei up. He's going to cap it as Wholesome Halfwits almost decide to fall back, but not really. We do see the Uriel already left, the Tyrande forced back by the Tassadar. She's actually, oh, Kia's going to do a nice dodge there, but it's now 2v3 and the tower's gone, and a lot of members of Wholesome Halfwits are very overextended. I think this Garrosh is going to fall. Yeah, I don't see him getting out of here. Oh? No? No. 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 Chromie, though, going a little overextended. I feel like if they saved the Taster wall, they could have caught Chromie there. But anyway, sorry.
Do see UL getting some value bottom. So, quickly while this stuff is happening, my point was if there's a team fight happening like right here where my map is centered, this is the rotate time it takes to go up and rotate the Zool into this mid area here. Whereas if you're the team defending this bot tower, you have to rotate back, up, and around to get anywhere to the mid. So you actually can quickly leave if you're organized and go for a gank or a push in another lane. And it takes a lot of time for the defending team to leave their aggressive fort and rotate to somewhere else on the map. So
especially if you lead first too.
Yeah.
Oftentimes because the keep kills it so fast, you can actually kind of juke out your opponent if they're not expecting it. But I also want to point out that notice how the team fight was up top and Uriel by herself almost took the fort back. I think that's kind of just very much proving the point that like they have to just leave. Zul'jin getting ice walled then stunned. He's going to be a little late for this fight as Garrosh going very deep for this Tassadar. He is going to get the throw, but a nice Anduin pull is going to deny that value. Mei is getting low. I think we're finally getting late game enough on the DPS for Wholesome Halfwits so they can start burning that Mei. Uriel's going to pop her healing shield and kind of walk away. But again, if you look, Caffeinated Knights almost at full health. Wholesome Halfwits, a lot of characters are getting low, especially that Garrosh, who I think is going to die. As he's getting body blocked by his own team. A Poison Nova coming up from behind. That's going to stop the retreat. As Garrosh walking into one, he's going to actually die. As Zul'jin very overextended, dying way in the back line of the other team. Garrosh finally falling to the Tassadar. As again, Caffeinated Knights almost full health, pushing back to a very low or dead Wholesome Halfwits.
Alright, well that was pretty exciting. They couldn't secure the kill on Wholesome Halfwit's side in that 5v4, and that pretty much sealed their fate, as we do see a bottom cap, and they're going for boss top with only 3 up for Wholesome Halfwits.
Yeah. And keep in mind, Wholesome Halfwits has 3 health and boss does 4 damage, and quick math people might realize that this will be game if Caffeinated can get it. And Wholesome Halfwits I don't think are quite fast enough, but that is game.
That is going to be GG as Caffeinated Knights takes the series 2-1. But, you know, just by taking a game off of Caffeinated Knights, I think that's an accomplishment for Wholesome Halfwits and where they are in the standings right at this moment.
I agree. So, Liddell, what do you think went wrong in general with Wholesome Halfwits, whether it's in this game or the problems you have been noticing?
I'm gonna say what went wrong was they committed too hard in early fights, sacrificed too many kills, or too many deaths, I should say, which got them down in XP, and they're already at a disadvantage because Zool is out-soaking the Uriel so hard, that really they lost way too much early game that they lost any chance of coming back late game. Is what happened.
Yeah, I agree. I also think Wholesome Halfwits, especially this team comp, kind of screwed themselves over. Like they're kind of all pressed around getting that Garrosh toss, but they're kind of not because they didn't really draft that way. They're kind of drafted like they want a 4-man bot, but they kind of don't because Zool beats Uriel in the double soak. You know, like they kind of picked that early game Garrosh, but didn't follow up on it. And then the Anduin also has his pull, which will stop any Garrosh value the times you do get things that are not Mei. Especially with Mei's D even, that you don't always need that pull on her.
Yeah, and I think the XP says a lot. There's a 6k XP lead over Zool over Uriel. And that's with...
Sorry, you mean 36. Or sorry, 6k XP. My bad, I was looking at siege damage. My bad.
Siege, I mean, yeah, that also tells a similar story. And then also the second closest on Caffeinated Knight's team is tasked at 11k, and then you have 8k on Zul'jin. So it's kind of a huge imbalance of XP, which really, like, this is the comeback map, but if you are down levels, it's hard to come back because at important points in the game, you're down talent tiers, and it's just impossible to pick a fight.
I think before I'm gonna say this, and we'll switch to Caffeinated Knight's commentary a little because I feel like we're being up Beat Boys a lot. But I think the main two problems Beat Boys has over all three games is I think their drafting is a little weak, as they're sometimes inconsistent with what they want to do. Again, commenting like they want a 4-man push bot lane because of the Zul'jin, but they also don't have a strong double soaker, like by any means. I think if they weren't 4-man push botting, they could have double soaked as the 4-man a lot better if they weren't trying to Zul'jin stack. I think you could see that sort of through all games where they had wombo combo game 2, but not enough damage to follow it up. And I forget the game 1, but I think there was some similar issues where like they had the Deathwing as the main tank with 2 healers, but Deathwing like would get pushed off, and then they have no sustain, but their DPS was built for sustain.
Yeah, I would agree. I think they were very aggressive early on the first map, and they could have even been a little more passive to try and stall out the game and just get to late game, which was the goal.
And that brings me to the second issue where like they don't leave the fights when they need to. I think that's the big 2 issues we saw over and over again from Wholesome Halfwits. And I think they played a very good game otherwise, but that's just some constructive criticism. I hope we haven't been too tough on them. I feel like we've been.
Well, I mean, we're tough on them, but also I've seen Caffeinated Knights do similar things to a lot of teams this year, so it's not just Wholesome Halfwits.
No, but I think the flaws are coming very clear.
I think this is also, I'm pretty sure it's a newly constructed team for Wholesome Halfwits. So
yes, I recognize Darker Black and Key from 2 different B East teams.
Yeah.
I don't recognize any of the others, but again, it's I guess it's hard to be a nuke team and find your groove. I think there's a lot of issues you have to work through.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of growing pains to any new team, and we're seeing some of that. But I wouldn't think they should be completely discouraged, because I wouldn't say they've had no shot in these in the games I've seen them play. They've won team fights, they've won certain matches. So hopefully they use this season to kind of gel and then come back next season a lot stronger.
Yeah, and Caffeinated Knights, what's your opinion on them?
Meat and potatoes. Meat and potatoes. No, but like the best meat and potatoes. Like you've been out there, it's cold, you've been working outside a bunch, and you come home to just some meat and potatoes that nothing in the world tastes better, and that's what the kind of meat and potatoes they are.
Warm your stomach up. Yeah, I actually really liked the Caffeinated Knights engaged style. They had this weird thing where they're actually staying in fights and not taking as much damage. That might be on the side of they're often talent tiers up, or their team is constructed better. But they kind of knew when to leave and when to like how to engage. Like there's a few times like at bot by the skeleton camp, they caught the Garrosh with a nice task wall and maze combo. I think that was like very good zoning on the side of Osmanthus, and I think that was very good. Like they knew the Garrosh was there, and they knew how to react around it to properly isolate him and kill him.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of like pick potential, and how they engage is very impressive.
Yeah, it's just really solid, and I really like the decisions they make once they get an advantage. And they don't overextend. They don't give up their lead. They do it just enough to keep getting map value, but not enough to risk dying in the team wipe.
My only critique would be them on their late game. Sometimes it feels like they're a little trigger happy to end the game. Like again, we saw that's why they lost the first game. The second day they kind of did the same thing, but they were up so much like it didn't matter. Like they got the second fort and then pushed to win. Mm-hmm. And I feel like against a closer game, that would have been a lot more punishing, or if there was another fully stacked Butch with Silence of the Lamb. In this game, they went boss, and I'm not sure if you noticed, like, when they were taking boss to get the win, they were actually fairly low health at the end of it. Like, yes, they were up a few kills, but, like, if Wholesome Halfwits reacted a little faster, like, that could have been a very sideways fight. That was a little more brawly than it would need to be. Like, I don't think they were up so much they didn't need to take that boss to end. They could have taken a fort or two and to keep that macro pressure to force Wholesome Halfwits to decide between taking boss, capping tribute, recapping a fort. I think it would have been a lot more confirmed kills. But I say that as our team often being critiqued as the team that doesn't end when they should. I think I see a lot of Twitch comments like, "Oh, they didn't end." Oh, so
yeah.
They keep that critique with a grain of salt, as maybe we're a little too skewed to the other side when it comes to ending games.
All right, I am currently on the standings page as we end up this cast. We have Caffeinated Knights taking a dominant shared connection with Gilly Shark at the top. But then we have Tricky Gooses with 8 points, Beef Boys with 8 points, Team Happy Cloud with 8 points, Chaos Badgers with 8 points, Rainbow Rotation with 8 points, Party Time with 7 points, Regen Phoenix with 6 points, Tiny Dancers, we have a win that's currently not reported, so we have 6 points. So
although it's important to note, Beat Boys has 9 with that
right.
reported game too.
That's so from 3rd place in the division, which has 9, to 10th place in the division, which have 6. One domination separates 7 of the 11 members of the division. So this is definitely a very interesting division to keep an eye on throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it turns out.
Alright, well this has been a episode of Canadian Corner, back with a full Canadian cast. This has been Liddell.
No Americans.
No Americans. This has been Season 10 NGS. Division A East, Wholesome Halfwits losing to Caffeinated Knights 2-1. Thanks for joining me, my co-caster, Silver.
Thank you.
Alright, see ya.